Alright, so I like this look so much that I'm just gonna keep doing videos in it. Um, so today's costume, I am still a lighthouse keeper, but I took off my jacket and my little scarf thing because it was a little hot. So today I'm going to tell you about these two guys. I don't know how I attract these people, and I hope my microphone is right. I don't know how I attract these people, but I do. And I have had how many of these situations? I'll say two. So the first one happened in college, and it went on for years. Ladies, you can't be nice to these people. They're mental. So I met this guy, and we're gonna call him Carl. Carl and I were in the same major, and Carl, we became friends at first. And he, told me all about like his life, how he worked, for the steel mill, and how he quit and he was going back to school to, pursue our major. And I was like, okay, cool, and we would talk. And I think the turning point was I had made this joke. Sometimes my jokes can be off color. And, when they're jokes. And he like snapped on me, and I was like, what the fuck? So I texted him to ask him, are you okay? And he said yeah, he was fine. I was like, okay, cool. So a couple months passed by. So this is first semester, so fall semester of the school year. And we start to text back and forth as friends. I mean, maybe I gave some mixed signals. I don't remember giving mixed signals. But he one night asked me, I can't remember if he asked me out or what he did, but he ended up like snapping on me, and I wish I still had these. It's on my old phone. I wish I still had these. They were insane. So this is how I know that later on this was a nice guy like encounter because I know what happened. I told him like, hey, I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm just trying to get through my studies. And I mean, listen, I was in my senior year of college. I was ready to go. But he didn't understand that. So he just sends me this tirade of text messages. And he's like, I make better grades than you. And, all this. And then he starts to attack the fact. Okay, so I had this crush on this guy, this celebrity, who has actually passed on, which is really sad. And he starts to like roast him too. Like he was like, you'll never meet him, he's not your type. And I'm like, do you know? Like I was like, okay. But he just goes on this tirade. So I put my phone down and I just go on about my business because I'm not confrontational, and also I don't know how to handle situations like that. So I go on, and I actually called my friend and was like, girl, you don't believe this crazy shit. So, I go on cooking, and all the while I'm cooking dinner, I just hear, bing, bing. My phone's just going off. And eventually he stops texting me, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus. So, the next day in class, or really before class, I go to sit down in, like, we had a little open area, like many buildings do. And I'm sitting there, I think I might have been writing or listening to some music, just in the zone. And, I mean, of course, he doesn't sit down next to me, which I didn't, expect. Instead, he sits down with his homeboys or some guys he knew from class. I don't even think they were friends. I just think he just knew them, class-wise. So anyways, I go into class, and I'm sitting there taking my notes, really writing a story, because it was public relations, which is pretty straightforward. It's not that deep. And I can see him rather. I can hear him. I can see him just staring at me. I mean, intently staring at me. And I was just like, just keep looking. Just keep looking. Keep your zone. So I am, like I said, not even paying attention. And I really I clocked it, and then I was like, keep going. So go back to my dorm, and I'm walking back, and luckily it wasn't that far from where I stayed. So I am, like I said, walking back to my dorm, and like, is my little 0-year-old staring at me? What the fuck? Like, okay. And I couldn't believe it, because I was like, I don't get it. I don't make guys crazy, So anyways, get back to my dorm, and after a while, that whole episode is like far from my mind. And it's because midterms are coming up, and I've got things to do. So I, do my thing, do what I need to do. And fast forward, because he just stares at me in class, and I'm like, okay, weird. So fast forward to a couple weeks later, and I'm getting ready to go home for Halloween, actually. And I noticed that this car gate, like, I had some friends who were actually from the UK, and we were talking, and I look out the corner of my eye, and I see his car just like cruising by my dorm, and my friend says, hey, like, don't freak out, but that guy has been driving by here, because he knew where I stayed, because we were, we had done a project together. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, that car has been driving by here. And I was like, what the fuck? So, I'm like, okay, don't know how to handle this. So I get in my car, go on home, and, go Halloween for the weekend, because it was a weekend. And then I, get back to school, and apparently, like, he had been, like, cruising by to see when I came back. And I was like, absolutely not. And I really did not know what to do at this point, because it wasn't, okay, 34-year-old me is like, yeah, that was stalking. But 20-something me was like, you can't be serious. Am I that, like, attractive to you that you I didn't know, like, my brain was like so crossed up, And it's funny, because I do have anxiety. I had separation anxiety, and at this point, anxiety was out the window. That's crazy. I feel like I get anxious over the stupidest shit. But so he does this for a few weeks, and he stops. And I think it's because finals had started, and he was like, all right, I'll work on her later. So now we're in the finals season, and it's November, December, and we're doing projects for class. So I get up to do my projects, and I'm going through my spiel, and he starts, like, clearing his throat really loud and coughing and staring at me intently. And I was just like, okay. And the teacher, God love him, was this African guy. think he was actually from Nigeria. And he was like, you know, Mr. So-and-so, do you need to step out? and he was just like, oh, no, I'm good. Okay. So I'm just like, and my friend who was sitting by him was like, are you fucking serious? Like, sir, get a grip. And I'll tell you what she told me later on. I was like, wow, need to know things. Glad you said so, sunshine. Told me about this. But she looks at him. Everybody's looking at him like, what the fuck are you doing? So I finish my project and I sit down. And, you know, class goes on. Class is over. And I think he gets the message that, sir, you are a non-factor in my life. And I also wasn't someone to go out on campus a lot. So I stayed in. So I think that also saved me from God knows what he could have done. But years go on, I graduate, and fast forward to 2020. No. Well, in that swath of years, really. So really right after college, grad school onward. So by this point, I'm in grad school, and he starts messaging me again. And I had remembered his bullshickety from years past. And okay, I am gonna put fault into this on my own. I'm gonna fault myself. So here's the thing: I friended him or followed him on Instagram, and we were on Facebook as well because we were actually all part of the Jacksonville State like group. So I had, you know, friended him, and he didn't bother me at first, like, you know, at first, and then all of a sudden something just clicked. I don't know, I don't think homie was on his medication. So he starts sending me, and I was getting other weird, you know, just random hit-ons, whatever. But those guys were like, hey, I think she's cute, whatever, move on. This guy though, he starts sending me pictures of him and this girl, and I'm like, okay, cute. And then, like, I remembered, what was that? Not 4th of July, Super Bowl Sunday. He sends me this picture of him and this girl getting engaged, and I'm like, congratulations, like, dude, off my hands, right? And in between, so I'm all over the place with this, but in between that, he had been like texting me, and I'm like, are you engaged? And I ignored him because I was like, I don't want to talk to you, we're not friends. And then like he texted me, I was never mean to you ever. And I'm like, nah, you were past mean, you were borderline doing criminal shit. But anyways, so, like I said, he has this picture up, and I'm like, oh, thank God, off my hands, right? Thank you, Jesus. So, I continue to ignore him, and he drops off, right? And I'm like, great. So, a couple years go by. I think 2020, I remember specifically because I really wasn't paying attention, but 2020 we were all stuck in the house, so we were paying attention to a lot of things. And I was also really sick. Let's just be honest, I had like a severe gallbladder issues, and I was also having seizures, so it was just a weird time to be alive for me. Anyways, so I would be on my phone a lot because I spent time in my bed a lot because, you know, I was ill. And I remembered him, like, I would take, when I felt good, I would take pictures, you know, and post them on Instagram because I felt good, right? And actually, this started before the pandemic. This started, like, weeks before the pandemic. We had gone down to Savannah, and then we went over to St. Simon's? Brunswick area, because we wanted to see this ship that had turned over in the Brunswick Harbor, or St. Simon's Harbor, turned over. The ship had turned over. So, you know, me and my cousin and my mom, we took pictures, and there was, you know, I would get these alerts, you know, normal alerts, like, hey, oh, that's cute, likes and stuff. But I got a like from him. And it wasn't just a like. He would send me, like, the kissy face emoji, and I was like, no, it actually escalated. So he sent me, like, he post, you know, he would like it, and it would be some, like, something you wouldn't send to someone you knew emoji, right? Like, that you were just friends with, or like social media friends. But I ignored it. So I'm like, so I'm gonna have to blur that out. So I went on with my life. The pandemic hits. I'm sick, and it's not great. And fast forward to Christmas of that year. So by that point, I had gotten surgery, got my gallbladder removed, and I was thin. Like, I thought I was good. I was really thin. Not really thin, but thin enough. And so I was taking pictures, and I had been taking pictures throughout December, and actually prior to that in October after my surgery. Because I look good, you know. I looked amazing. So I kept noticing that he would like these pictures, and the likes were getting weird. Like, they were smiley faces, or like that checking you out, I call it checking you out face, you know, that kind of thing. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And nobody questioned it, so I mean, oh God, they probably thought that was actually somebody I fooled with. Ew. So, I'm sorry, I'm really slow. I'm trying to, like, compile all this crazy shit all together. But, so, like, Christmas Day rolls around, and my cousin takes a picture of me out on the porch here, and it's a cute picture. I think I had on my new jeans, and, you know, I had this top, and a few minutes later, because I'd taken a picture of me in my room, and then a picture of me or my cousin took a picture of me out on the porch. So, you know, not a few minutes later, really that night, when I looked at my phone, I noticed a kissy face emoji. Not just that. So it's like the kiss emoji, and then it's the tongue, you know. And I'm like, what the fuck? And it was from Carl. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like in a panic. And I'm like, what do I do? Like, I'm texting my friend, and she's like, you need to block him. And then I figured it out. So I have a lot of male cousins on my dad's side of the family, and they're attractive men. And I think that he thought that one of these guys was my boyfriend, and so he was trying to break us up. And at that moment, I lost my shit. Like, I was pissed, because it's like, A, we're not dating, and B, what the flip? So I remember, like, I sat right over here, and I just started, like, it actually took me, because it was Christmas Day. It took me the day after Christmas. I was like, that's when I noticed it really, like, when it really sunk in, and it pissed me off. So I immediately blocked him. I blocked him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of them. I don't even know if he was on Twitter, but I blocked him. Um, so that was that one. And I haven't heard from him again since. Thank God. But that was creepy. Like, that's the part that is so creepy to me, is the fact that he thought he could do that. He really thought. And he had created this entire narrative about me where he was like, he thought that I was from the Caribbean. A lot of people think that, because I guess they don't think that black people go down there unless we're from there. I don't know. But he is officially, like, ripped out of my life. Like, yeah. When I tell you, it was like a horror movie, that last bit. Like, it doesn't seem like it the way I tell it, but it was awful. It was so creepy, the fact that he had been doing this for months. And it was weird. It was almost like something clicked. And I know, like, I don't even know if him and the girl were actually in. Hell, that could have been his cousin for all I know. But it just feels like something in his brain would click and he would just go after me. So I hope he got help. I mean, I know mental health help is out there. It's hard to get, but it is available. Sometimes you gotta try a little harder, or he got on some medication. I don't know, but this next story is super Halloween related. So, this happened, and we'll say this guy's name is Joe. So, Joe and I worked together, and things were cool, as they usually are. Things. This is recent, so I'm gonna be a little more quicker with the facts. So, he was another nice guy. And honestly, we had some of the same interests. Initially, he was good to talk to. Like, he was really good to talk to. But he had some real views of women. And I found this out. I remember it like it was like a yesterday. Easter Sunday, I figured this out. Because he had texted me, and somehow we got on the subject of, I think, domesticity or something. I forgot, but he was saying, like, basically women shouldn't work, and I don't know, it was weird. He said something about women as far as, like, it was okay for him to have friends, for men to have friends, but women could not have friends, especially solely if the woman had male friends. So it was like, specifically if they were male friends, they can't have friends, but the men folk could, right? So I was like, red flags. And I wasn't trying to date him because, let's be honest, I wasn't attracted to him. I just saw him as a friend, and we had common interest. So things start to get weird. Things got weird anyway because Trump was in office, but things were getting strange. I realized that he had some, like, Hotepery Hotep views, and he was really obsessed with his dislike of a certain author. Because we actually worked in a museum dedicated to this author. And I was like, dude, you got to calm down. Because I get it. She's, who I'm talking about, because I've mentioned it in previous videos, but the thing is, like, the views didn't bother me too much, because I was like, yeah, I get it, but, like, I'm not gonna have a beef with a dead person. That's crazy. I don't beef with nobody. So, that was fine. It was the views that he had on women that were problematic, that I was just like, ew. And my friend, we'll call her Kiara. Kiara, had talked to him as well, and she was like, I can't talk to him. And I said, why? And she was like, because he gives me the ick, like when I, when I talk to him. We will call it the ick now. But she was like, whenever I get off the, like, not like phone call, but like texting, she was like, it just feels like there's like a film on my skin and I can't get it off. And I was like, ew, I haven't had that problem. You might go see a dermatologist. But and I think she was warning me in a way. And my mom had also warned me, like, hey, you crazy whore, you know, you need to step away from him. Him ain't right. But me, I don't want to call it headstrong, because I don't think it is. I think I'm just like, I don't know what that's about. But things start to get weird one day, because we did have some jackasses that we worked with that were like racist. Like, it was, which is not surprising, but like racial. And so one day we're sitting there all by ourselves, and he just says out the clear blue, I wish that we could curse these people. And I have the sort of quote here. I wish we could put roots on these people, is what he said. And I was like, come again? And he was like, I just really wish we could put roots on me. And I said, no. Karma handles that. You don't have to worry about that. But nah, he was like, nah, I want to go full skeleton key on him, right? So I'm like, okay. And on the way home, I'm sitting in my car like, this man say he was going to put roots on him? None of my business. So, we kind of start to drift apart. I had a little bit of my notes about this situation in here. We kind of started to drift apart because he started to become even more negative. And honestly, the pandemic probably has something to do with it. Like, my mom doesn't believe the pandemic really messed with people's minds, but I think it did. I mean, you're stuck inside, like, what, you know. And if you were a negative person, you're probably going to be even more negative, even more pessimistic. So he, you know, I tried to be, and I realized this is not healthy for any kind of relationship when you're the one who's like trying to be the positive, upbeat one. But one day he sends me this message about, what was it? Oh, this was like the last straw. I'm not like you. It was a girl, dark-skinned girl. And she was like, I'm 100% African. I'm not like you mixed bitches. And I thought it was weird because I remember we were talking about ancestry, and I had sent him mine. So I was like, this is so cool. Look at all these countries I belong to, or I have, in my DNA. And I think that he had a tendency to keep people around that he liked to argue with. And I was just like, I'm not having this. First of all, baby, nobody is 100% anything, so you shut the fuck up. I'm like, who is this person? I said she hates herself. So, anyways, he didn't like that. He did not like that at all, as my grandmother would say. And he stops texting me. And there were other instances before that where I checked him like, what the fuck? No, black people can be racist. Like, it was like stuff like that, but then some stuff was like way out of bounds. And I remember there, like, it was weird. Weird stuff started to happen to me. And around this time. I I literally thought I was going crazy. Like, I didn't tell anybody about this. How I would get like these, I don't want to call them voices because y'all gonna be like, voices? What? I remember like I would come in my room and I didn't feel right. I felt like somebody was watching me. And it was a distinctive feeling. Like, I mean, not distinctive. It was, well, distinctive, but it was a feeling. Like, you know, when you feel like someone's watching you. And even creepier, it was always when I was changing clothes or getting out the shower. And I had told my friend Kiara, I was like, girl, what the fuck? And at first I said, well, you know, because she knew of my condition, because this by the time I'd been diagnosed with seizures. And I actually asked my neurologist, hey, does this medication make you paranoid or like make you, and she was like, no. And so I was like, okay. And I verified it with the Epilepsy Foundation. I verified it on WebMD. I verified it on drugs.com. Nobody said that takes Keppra they had this problem. So I'm like, okay. Weird. So one night I'm laying in bed and I start to get like this. It was a weird, like somebody's watching me. And it's an intense feeling. And on top of that, I have like this voice in my head. And I remember, once again, he knew that I had like a crush on this celebrity, on this guy. And it was like somebody saying like, I'm gonna kill him. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, yo, like, what is going on? And this went on for like a couple of months, like a couple of months. And then it got so bad, because it would be like it was just the creepiest, like, it was like the creepiest, I won't call them thoughts, because they weren't my thoughts. And that's the thing, I know they were not my thoughts. And it was like always when he texted me, and I was like, what the fuck? So I remember, and I still do this, I got up one night and I got some salt and I put it in my room, and I said like prayers, open my window, especially when it rained. I would open my window because, you know, rain cleanses and salt also cleanses. I know there was another night where I was like, I'll call it an episode or whatever the fuck it was bad. So what I did, I was panicking because I was like, my parents were asleep, I didn't know what to do. And so what I would do, this is so weird, before this particular situation happened, I would put on or think about quotes or write the quotes out that made me feel safe. And these were quotes from Bruce Lee, and I put on Luther, and it would like kind of take my mind off, because, you know, you're so, I would take my mind off it, like, you know, take me out of it, so to speak. But it was still an icky feeling. And then like I said, so this one night where it was just out of control, and it was always around 1 or 2 in the morning when this happened. I remember just just freaking out, like, what should I do? And I got this feeling where it was like, turn to Sanford and Son. And so I did, and the feeling went away. And when I told my mom about it, she was like, well, you're probably your grandfather, because he liked Sanford and Son, and he was probably there to keep you safe. But that was like one instance that it was freaky. So he started texting me again, and I would, make myself as unavailable as possible. And by then I had like salt in my room and all that. And I would also meditate and say my prayers and kind of put up a wall in my mind, thinking about, what's that movie? Not Children of the Corn, Village of the Damned, like on that level. So, things were fine because I had what I call my arsenal. And I still do this just for mindfulness sake. So, Easter Sunday rolls around, and I remember he was texting me, and I said something that I guess he didn't agree with, and immediately things go south. So Easter Sunday, we're coming back from my cousin's house, and we get in a car accident. And when I got home that night, I got a message from him saying something like, "Are you alright?" Or like, did something happen? And I was like, what? And I didn't think about it. And I was like, yeah, we were in a car accident. And he just said, "Oh, okay." And I remember I texted my friend, my friend Kiara, and I told her, and she was like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Like, hey, And I was like, "Yeah, girl, I'm fine." But his message was like, "Oh, okay." Right. So, I'm still shooken up from the accident, and I ended up taking a trazodone and going to bed because I was like, anxiety was through the roof. So, a couple months later, I remember this because I was in the line at Starbucks. And he texted me, and was like, ignore. Like, I wasn't for it. Like, but I forgot what that text message entailed, but I remember. Now, let me preface this for you. The battery in my car was new. It was brand new. Just saying. Because my dad had just replaced it. Right. So, I'm in the line at Starbucks. And he had texted me, and I disagreed with him on something. I was like, I don't agree with that. I don't even think I texted to him. And all of a sudden, my car just goes off. Like the radio starts acting weird. My lights are flashing. I'm like, what the fuck? So I turn my car off, and then I turn it back on. And then I get out of line to Starbucks and go home. Cause I'm like, and I'm talking to my parents. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm calling them, telling them I don't know what's going on. So my dad was like, "Oh, it's probably your battery." So we get home, because he was like, "It's probably your battery." But I was like, "Dad, you just changed the battery." And he was like, "Well, I hope it's not the alternator." That's what he said. He was like, "It's probably," he was like, "God, I hope it's not the alternator." So he checks everything. Everything is fine. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm like, no, ma'am. No. Not today, Satan. That was the last straw. I took his number out my phone. I took that number out of everywhere. And I remember I was texting my friend Kara. I texted my other friend, Lucille. That's not a good name to go by for her. I text my other friend. We'll just say my other friend. And she was like, girl, she was like, even she's a very religious woman. She was like, what? And I was like, yeah, my car like went haywire. And the worst part was, like, I was like, what if I had been driving? Like, yo, what if I had been driving? Okay. So after that, you know, I didn't want to believe it, because, like, I am superstitious, and I do, like, believe in stuff, but I was like, this Mother Zero put a curse on me, or tried to put roots on me. And it's so creepy, because I mean, you hear about it, you know, but that's like one of the creepiest feelings ever. Like, ghosts aside, when someone puts that kind of energy out in the world, that's terrifying. And it's like going all towards you. And like, my mom had a theory that he was so hateful and so angry towards women, and like why his life wasn't going right, that this was his way of feeling powerful, which, I mean, historically we know that's a thing that people do. But yeah, like that destroyed my life. Like, I could not believe it. I mean, I didn't lose no sleep over it, but I could not believe that this was happening to me. Like, that this man, that this man put roots on me. And it reminded me of a story that my friend back at college had told me about this woman in her neighborhood who did the same thing to a man because he didn't want nothing to do with her. Like, it was on that level. And what sealed it was when I had the accident, and he was like, oh, okay. Whew. Those are really the only two. I mean, I've had some other encounters that were short, not sweet, but short, thankfully. But those two, that second one, I'm sorry, that first one was like normal ID channel craziness. But this one, no ma'am. No ma'am. And I mean, there were other things. Like, I noticed, like, in the house, like, my parents and I's relationship was kind of going by the wayside. I think partly because of the pandemic, but also because of this crazy Mother Zero who was over there across town doing God knows what. But the funny part was, like, my mom was like, but his shit keeps backfiring. She's like, when you do so much dirt, things don't go good for you. I don't, like, what is he missing? But yeah, so those are my two nice guy horror stories for the Halloween season. Definitely the second one, for the Halloween season. So I will see you on the next video. And if you do want to see more short content, I have a TikTok, and that is KW Riri, I think. I'll put it in the lower third. I also have a Tumblr page if you want to check that out, where I post pictures. Like, I just recently posted a picture of me as Claudia from Interview with a Vampire. And there'll be more pictures throughout the Halloween season and beyond that. So yeah. Also, check out my Instagram, paint_it Haint21. And I will see you all later. Thanks for watching. Bye.